I'm going to turn it over to Joe Blastick with the Nature Conservancy to talk about their work with bulk harvesting native seed.
So I can assure you guys, I don't have any math in my presentation here. No slides or none of that kind of stuff. So, bulk harvesting native seed, totally different process than what you've heard about here so far. This is not going and being a keyboard warrior. This is a lot of practical, on the ground type of restoration work. So we'll jump into it. We've talked about seeding, but we really haven't talked about where does it come from, right? How does it get there? How does it get in your packages, or how's it get in the seed packets, whatever you're getting? It's kind of intimidating when you actually get into it. So the question is, can anybody do it? Owen's talked about hand seeding. We'll get into more here, but absolutely. It really depends on a couple different things. How big of an area you're talking about, how much time you have, and what do you actually have available to you. So when it comes to hand seeding, what Owen talked about, it really is that simple. You walk around your prairies, grasslands, whatever, with a couple 5-gallon buckets around your belt, leather gloves, and grab what you can see. And it can be just that fast. So in a way for bringing more monetary benefit for keeping your native sod and your grasslands, this is a way you could do it. And it's free. It's your time. And most of us love to be outside doing it anyhow. Now, when it comes to scale, if you've got lots of time and extra hands and kids, those sorts of things, you can ramp up your scale. But if you don't, it's whatever you can handle. In the bottom left corner there is a little bit more of a mechanical mode. Essentially, it looks like a weed whacker with a brush on it that takes it into a bag. So you could go up to the species you're looking for, put it over the top, it smacks the seed in the bag, and then you can move on. I've heard good and bad reviews on that sort of a thing, but it's something that's out there and available. So we're kind of talking small scale. I'll ramp it up a little bit. So once you have your seed in your buckets, like what do you do with it? So if you're like us, NGO with not a lot of space, we take the buckets, put it on a tarp, and let it dry on the tarp. Owen had a picture of their shop with seed and all the stuff piled up. You don't need a lot of fancy stuff to do this. You could totally just leave it on the tarp, let it dry out, and then to get the seeds out of there, really just step on it after they're dry and crunchy. That will release a lot of those forb seeds in the pods. And then you don't have to separate it either, right? You've got the seed out, put it back in a bucket, and go throw it out wherever you're looking to go. So scaling up a little bit. That was hand seeding, small scale. Now we're going to talk about ATV seeders for a little bit, working up to the bulk side. These come in 4 and 6 foot widths or 6 and 8 foot widths. Essentially, it's a giant street sweeper that you pull next to your four-wheeler with that brush that goes, and then it brushes it up, it goes into a hopper, and you can see it in the back there. They are really good at grass seeds for using like the street sweeper blade or brush. If you're really trying to get after forbs, you can see the jagged raker, I think they call them raker teeth. And that's got the ability to get after the base of the forbs and draw that seed up and get it into the hopper for that. Now, these things can be great for warm season grasses. In cool season grasses, they could be super effective and a huge pain in the butt. So in that top right photo there, we were going after green needle or porcupine grass. And the mechanics of that seed is once it starts to dry, it starts to curl and become a giant mess. So if you're harvesting that seed, and if you don't throw it out right away, you have a hopper full of a ball of needles, essentially is what it is. You can't pick it out, you can't throw it. And the learning curve with that for me was we went to the top of the hill with some seasonals and we just kicked it down the hill like a soccer ball because you couldn't throw it anymore. It was super nasty. Now if we're talking bigger scale, using combines. So people have asked when we're doing restoration work, who in the heck takes a combine out in the middle of a grassland? Fully knowing how many rocks and sorts of things are out there, we're those people. That totally fits us. Combines are really effective because you can use that head and get right to the bottom or right at the ground level, essentially get in rose hips. That's like the trophy a lot of times. And it's good at getting forbs. And you get a lot of volume with a short amount of time. Now, there's a couple of caveats that come with a combine. Is one, you have to have them. But it seems like there's still a lot of this older farm equipment around, and it doesn't take a lot of modifications to make it effective. So although this is a picture of an international that we used last year, old gleaners, people seem to have them around still. Those are also really good to use with the old bean heads from the 60s eras. Generally speaking, you can get 2 to 4 acres an hour. So you're talking about able to scale up and ramp up and get some real volume. Pictures in the work. The one thing we do when we do run these combines is have somebody out in front trying to mark rocks. As you can imagine, as those teeth are spinning and you're trying to get to as close to the ground as you can, it's pretty tough when you start banging in the rocks. It's a good way to break everything. Have a bad day. So then what? You just took your combine, you went driving around your grasslands, your pastures, whatever. How do you get it home? So if you're a larger outfit and you've got wagons that are meant for seed moving, where they can plug in fans and blowers and like a hopper wagon, that works. If you work with my program, you build a plywood box and load it in there. Even to the point you need to have a piece of plywood to block the wind so it gets in the box. But we line that box with plastic, we get it back to our shop, and then we lay it out on the floor. So right there on our shop floor, you're looking at about 2,300 pounds of seed that we got in maybe 3 or 4 days last fall of harvesting. That was combine harvested. So on my piece of notebook paper there, that's essentially the volume or what it looks like when it comes out of the combine. If you use the street sweeper blades, those flail vacs, the picture on the left is an example of that came out of the flail vac. So you see there's a lot more stemmy material in there compared to the right, which has the stuff out of the combine. Now, somebody said before, what are you going to plant, or Jay said, what are you going to plant your seed with? We use the Vicon seeders, or a version of the Vicon seeders, which is essentially is a fertilizer spreader that's got like a wig-wag tail. You can see it coming out of the back end there. And that will fling that seed out. And that will fling the seed out, whether it's with the flail vac, the stuff that's all stemmy, or the seed that's sitting there on the right that's a lot more clean. But if you're going to use a drill, that won't work. You'll hate life actually pretty fast trying to run that stuff through a drill. So if you want to use a drill, you got to get it cleaned down a little bit more. And that's a total failure for a picture. I apologize. When it comes to seeding this stuff with the flail vacs, it's really important you have a little bit of snow on the ground, because when you get started for the day, you can flip it on and see how far your seed's getting flung. And then for the rest of the day, you can base your spacing off of that. You can also play the wind, which is an important part of this stuff. In the picture there on the right, I was trying to take a picture of looking down to see the seed on the snow. And I bet we're pretty close to the seed numbers we're talking about. But if you try to do that stuff when it's not, if you don't have snow on the ground, you really can't tell where you're going very well. So this is the important thing on why it matters. It encourages people working together. Not everybody's going to have a combine, so you can start building teams. Those that are really trying to scale things up. So particularly on the Minnesota side where I also work, we have seed co-ops where, say, Fish and Wildlife has a combine, somebody else has a wagon, somebody else has a labor. We work together to do prescribed fire. Generally, the assumption is when we're doing these sorts of things that we're harvesting the seed the fall after we do spring burning, with the understanding or maybe assumption that you have the best viability with that sort of a time frame. That also ramps up the importance of fire. We've heard it here brought up multiple times already. When everybody's working together to get seed, we come together to burn too. And that helps the whole process all around. The one thing that's a little bit different with the combines versus what Owen was talking about with their hand seeding, you're trying to time it to get the most bang for the buck. And in the fall, we're all well aware of a couple big windy days, and you can lose a lot of volume. So this is my math, only math slide I'm going to have. It's not really hardcore science math here. I put some math together with what we've assumed over the last couple, or my whole career really, on how to do rates and those sorts of things. A lot of the math that we have used is like, nature's got it right. So if you harvest an acre of seed, you should be able to plant an acre of seed. But we never really connected the dots on the pounds per acre. And what I came up with here, I've always said 1 to 1.5, 2 pounds, or 1.5 to 2 bags per acre. Actually works out to be 50 or so pounds. I think that's what I come up with it. Per acre, give or take. It's not an exact science. But that's also the cool thing when you've got the Vicons, because you can figure out how far you're throwing, how fast you need to go, and you can really make it work for you. So it's a lot faster than dragging a drill around. Again, that's totally manager math. So why do you guys all care? This to me, this bulk harvest is about what could become in the future, bringing people together to do prescribed fire. Folks are getting the ability to do more work or more fire with their work now. It allows people to work together, it gets more diversity, and we're getting local eco-type seed out and about on the landscape. So this is my pitch moving forward. We can work together. And I'm going to be done on the front end before supper time here. So if anybody's got questions for me or if Josh is going to run with it,